Perek Chav Zayin, Mishnah Ches, we move on. Let's just recap. Begodim, we've got two levels of Tumah. We've got 3 Tvachim by 3 Tvachim, which is the biggest share. 3 Tvachim by 3 Tvachim. It is able to be Mekabel Tumas Medris and become an Avatuma. And we've got a smaller share for Beged, which is only 3 Etzbois by 3 Etzbois, a little tiny piece of cloth, which is able to be Mekabel all Tumas Maga, the Hainu, it's able to be Mekabel Tumas Mes, able to be Mekabel Tumas Sheretz, it's able to be Mekabel Tumas Maga Medris if we were to touch a Medris. A Medris itself is only Shaykh with 3 Tvachim by 3 Tvachim, which is known as Shloisha al Shloisha. Shloisha al Shloisha means Tvachim. The smallest share is called Sholosh al Sholosh, and that means Sholosh al Sholosh Etzbois. Now we're going to contrast the Mishnah Ches and Mishnah Zayin is going to contrast the dinim of Sholosh al Sholosh Etzbois, which became Tumah, as opposed to Mishnah Zayin, where we had Shloisha al Shloisha Tvachim becoming Tumah. Let's start the Mishnah. V'chein beged she'arag by Sholosh al Sholosh. We've now got a tiny piece of cloth, 3 Etzbois by 3 Etzbois. A small piece of cloth like this is able to be Makabel all Tumas except for Medris. In other words, if a mace or a Tomei mace were to touch this little piece of cloth, it would become Tomei. So that's exactly what happened here. You've woven a tiny piece of cloth, 3 Etzbois by 3 Etzbois. V'nitma Tomei mace. And the beged becomes Tomei through a Tomei mace. Let's say it touches a mace, and this little piece of beged becomes an avatuma of mace. Then, v'hishlim olov es kol beged. You then carry on weaving and you finish the cloth. Let's stop here. What happens now? So all the rest, all the new cloth becomes attached to the original 3 by 3 Etzbois, and it adopts whatever tumah that 3 Etzbois was. Therefore, in this case, the 3 Etzbois was an avatuma called Tomei mace. Therefore, the whole new cloth becomes Tomei mace with the 3 Etzbois. Then, you then remove one thread from the original 3 Etzbois by 3 Etzbois, reducing it to 2.9 Etzbois. So now, your Tumas mace, your Avatuma of Tumas mace, which you had, must disappear, because the original cloth from which everything gets its Tumah doesn't exist anymore. Torah Tomei mace, so the original Avatuma of Tomei mace falls away. However, Avatome Maga Tomei mace, all those new threads, all those new cloths, when you attach them to the original 3 Etzbois by 3 Etzbois, not only did they become a chubur and adopt the same din of the 3 Etzbois by 3 Etzbois, the Hainu and Avatuma of mace, but they also touched the simple contact chibur, they touched the original 3 Etzbois, and when they did that, they also became in their own right a rishon the tumah because they touched an Avatuma. Therefore, removing a thread from the original 3 Etzbois by 3 Etzbois, and Ochanama will get rid of the Avatuma across the board, but it doesn't affect the Kabbalas Tumah of the new cloth when it became a Rishon. And therefore, removing a thread from the old Given Etzbois will still leave the Rishon, the Tumah status across the whole cloth. And that's called Tomei Maga Tomei mace, which means a Rishon. Maga Tomei mace, it's touched a Tomei mace, it's touched an Avatuma. Now we'll do the review. This is where the contrast is. We start again. We've woven 3 Etzbois by 3 Etzbois. And these 3 Etzbois by 3 Etzbois became an Av Hatuma because a mace touched it. Notal Chut Echod Mitchiloso. You now remove one thread from this. Now what you've done now is you've changed 3 Etzbois to 2.9 Etzbois. This cloth is now not able to be Makabel Tumah at all. At that moment, the beged becomes Tahor. If you then mashlim the beged, v'achka chishlim olov, it's called a beged Tahor, because you've been mashlim a large roll of cloth to a small piece of fabric, which is Tahor. This is in contrast to the Mishnah Zayin, where we had the story where we had a 3 Tvachim by 3 Tvachim, which was Makabel Tumas Medris, which was Tomei Tumas Medris. Removing a thread doesn't make it Tar in Gansen, because all you've done by removing a thread is make it a share of 3 Tvachim to a smaller share, to a 2.9 Tvachim, but a 2.9 Tvachim is still able to be Makabel Tumas Maga. And under those rules, when you remove a thread from a 3 by 3 Tvachim, the 2.9 Tvachim that's left is still able to be Makabel Tumah from itself and will remain a Maga Medris, which would not be the case of the 3 Etzbois in our Mishnah, which you then reduce to 2.9 etzbois, what you've reduced it to is a piece of cloth which cannot be makabel tumah at all, and that's what the Mishnah is going to say in the end. Because they said, sholosh al sholosh and ismai, 3 etzbois by 3 etzbois, which is reduced to 2.9, it becomes completely tor. There's nothing left to be makabel tumah. Avol shlosh al shlosh and ismai, when you got 3 tvachim by 3 tvachim, which is a medris, and is nismait, and becomes 2.9, although you haven't got 3 tvachim left, enough to be able to retain the original tumas medris, but you've got enough cloth left which can be makabel tumah. And according to Rameir later on in Mishnah Yud, it is makabel tumah from itself, and therefore this 2.9 left is tamei b'chol tumas. It's still able to be makabel tumah all tumas, including the kabbalah tumas, the kabbalah tumah it had from touching the medris itself, and therefore remains a rishon tumah as the din of maga medris. I hope that was clear. And Mishnah.